Hello, Danvers, Massachusetts. How are you? My name is Michael Bean. I'm a lifelong resident of town, and I won't be going anywhere, hopefully. I have some guests with me here. My co-host, Damien Ankertel.
How you all doing?
Tell
Hello,
everybody.
Danvers. And I am a Peabody resident.
Again, not your fault.
And I'll blame my wife. It's always her fault, unless it's actually mine.
And we have another guest tonight, Dave. Dave, you want to tell everybody who you are, where you're coming from, and how you ended up here?
Sure. I, David Balzania, delighted and honored to be with these two fine men.
Honored is a heavy word. I wouldn't go honored.
I reside in Boxford currently. I'm one of these rare folks that moved from the South Shore to the North Shore.
Yeah?
I always get some strange looks when I tell people I did that, and they want to know why and how that happened.
Yeah.
It was my wife who did that as well. So
So
I
it was
credit
love.
her.
Love.
We love it, and we love it here. So on the North Shore,
Excellent.
this is home. Boxford's a nice town, but if you need to do anything or buy anything, you need to come to Danvers.
That's right.
So I spent
Yeah,
a
but you
lot of
got
time
2
in
acres,
Danvers.
right? Don't you have 2 acres?
I have 2 acres.
So
yeah.
that's nice.
A lot of squirrels and
Yeah.
deer, and yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
So that's
beautiful.
That's a hit. That's nice.
Good
Yeah.
eating.
Yeah.
Plus, if you have to set up your own fort, they gotta be trudging in a couple hundred yards before they get to your house.
Yeah.
All right, I gotta say our liability clause, just because we're afraid of the liability. Let's see. We are just giving you our opinions, which means nothing. Do your own research, and don't listen to or believe anything we have to tell you. So it's just our opinion, Damien.
If you don't believe us, just ask us.
We're going to stick to that story. All right, let me give you a quick tip of the day. It's actually not going to be quick. It's going to be a story. So,
Should I get violins out?
no, but the movie Painkiller, we promoted it on, I think, Mark Zubrick's show. Did we do that, or was it this one?
No, that was Mark's.
Okay, so if you haven't seen it, see it. It's unfortunately it's a sad story, but it's about the drug industry, the big pharma, and how they could care less. Really, they're just making money hand over foot there, you know. But the point of the story is that you realize that the drugs being pushed on us are not necessarily for us. That's good in the amount of drugs. And so a number of years ago, probably, I don't know, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, I had a doctor over in Beverly, and at my physical, he had said, we got to up your cholesterol from 20 to 40. You're not up there yet. You're not in the good numbers yet. Okay, all right. I mean, doctor, right? The next year we come back. Oh no, we're not there yet. We gotta up it again. So 40 to 60. So my doctor said so. Must be true, right? And forgetting all about, they call it a practice for a reason, right? So he the next year he ups it to 80, and now I'm becoming worried because 80 milligrams of these statin drugs is bad. They're bad anyway for your body, but so I open up the little 1-inch square paper they give you that opens up to like the old maps we used to have, and the company itself tells you how bad it is for you and all the side effects. It seemed almost hardly worth taking. Mm-hmm. So I didn't jump to the 80. In fact, I kept it at 40. And so a year later, I go to the same doctor for a physical, and he says, look, he's reading off his chart. He goes, and he must have wrote down that I was worried. And he says, look, you're all worried. He goes, but the numbers are in. We checked your blood, and you're right on target. I said, I didn't take the 80. And I told him why. I said, I read it. It's terrible for your body. It's got too many side effects. I didn't take it. And now he's caught off guard because he just told me everything was okay.
Mm-hmm.
That was our last visit together. But in another recent visit, I decided to ask if I could have a medication chopped in half. And the doctor said, yeah, and I feel better. So you have to know what they're giving you. And I think our attitude about medicine is that it's we don't look at it the right way, which is that it's going to help us. We should be looking at how is it going to hurt us, because there's so many side effects to a lot of the things, not to mention if you're taking multiple medications, how do they interact? And they don't always know.
Joe Rogan did a episode a few years back, or not even a few years back, a little while back, and he talked specifically about statins
Yeah.
and how they have zero positive effect.
Yeah.
You are just as likely to have a heart attack
Right.
with the statins as you are without them. So just watch Joe Rogan do I mean, he was talking to a heart doctor, and this was one of the big things that they were arguing about. Is that they weren't arguing; they were agreeing with each other, but they were making the argument that the statins are not a very effective medication.
No, they're really not, you know. So that was my tip. That was the big tip, to look at your medications and look them up, see what could be bad for you, and maybe question your doctor about the amount that they have you. If they have you at 300 milligrams, do you really need 300? Maybe you can do 150. You know, obviously the less the better. The human body's pretty, pretty rugged. It'll fix almost everything, to be honest with you.
Yep.
Oh, quick voter integrity note. A quick voter integrity note. We do still need more poll workers, although we had good reports from this last election. We had some poll workers out there, and it was they said they thought things looking good, and everybody was doing like they should. So that's always nice, you know. It's just another check and balance. And also, we have a drop box outside Town Hall, and it would only make sense to me that the drop box is in Town Hall, maybe at the clerk's office. Like you want to.
Well, that will eliminate the abilities to drop off when they're outside of business hours.
No, I understand what you're saying, but maybe it could be inside the door, and they could hook it up to one of those slots. Being outside just leaves
That's
it
true.
vulnerable to
Where you the
Packing it.
drop off there for for the bills.
no for
They have a bill
it's-
pay drop off.
Like that, you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah,
they have
like
something
that.
like that. You
Yeah.
just slide it in there and say
Yeah.
this is no longer for bills, it's for
yeah.
balance.
So that was our quick voter integrity.
Talk about voter integrity. How about your so what's going on with your campaign? Your campaign for town selectman.
Yeah, we're on the list. I did make it to the list. So 4 people are running. I think we said this last time. 2 incumbents, another gentleman, myself. So it's be pretty interesting. I prefer me if I was voting because I'm homegrown, right here.
Yeah. Are you the only one?
What, homegrown?
Yeah.
I don't think so. No.
No.
I think one of the incumbents, at least, I think he may have been born here too.
So
But
you're
I
homegrown.
worked for the town. I plowed streets in the town. I did Little League, and I don't know anything about baseball. The kids knew more than I did, but it was good fun, you know.
Support the businesses. Go to restaurants.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah,
a Danvers guy.
yeah. So
I won't hold
and I'm
that
not
against
leaving.
you.
So yeah, do what you want, you know. It's a free country, but I think I could get involved, and we could, I'm a worker, so once I get on it, I'm going to stay on it. So we'll do what we have to do, try to get things going. We're kind of could be in better places, you know. We get the whole MBTA law, the whole center of our town's already been planned off, and when people find out about that, they're shocked, you know. And the people in charge are saying, "Well, what are you talking about? We've been doing this for years." People are everybody's in their own little, place, busy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're taking care of kids, maybe a sick loved one, or parents, or yourself, your jobs. You get 2-3 jobs. You don't know what they're doing in town. You're just hoping that they're doing the right thing,
And they're hoping you're not paying attention.
and that's the problem. And now we're 98% compliant with the state. Why is the state telling Danvers how to run, and why are we going along with it?
Danvers is becoming less and less of a town.
No, it's more and more of a city.
more of a city. You
It's going
guys
to be
are
Rantoul Street, Danvers.
losing
soon.
your charm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I
Coming
told
right
you,
down High Street.
when
yeah.
you guys were trying to get that permit passed, and I was running for state senate in the last cycle, I said to you,
Damien ran against Joan Lovely.
Okay.
Yeah. So
and
last year.
and pulled papers to do so again.
Yes. Yes.
So
in fact, I was.
am going to be collecting tomorrow. Well,
Yeah.
tomorrow. You're not going to see this tomorrow, but I'll be out and about town in the next couple weeks collecting signatures.
And Jim Morose is going to be over at Kathmandu with your paperwork
Really?
in the morning. Yep.
Very nice,
He posted
very
it
nice.
on Facebook, and we got some more signatures for you on Saturday over at Brothers Restaurant,
Well, I thank you very much.
and I did have a ham and cheese omelet. It was good.
Well done.
They got good food over there. Good food. The
Yeah,
cakes,
it
we
was
love
good.
them.
So Dave, we want you to tell us what you do, and how did you get stuck in the middle chair?
Well, again, I am honored to be here. I love the show. I've seen the first couple episodes, so delighted to be a part of it.
Oh, I'm sorry. We want you to tell both of our viewers how you got stuck here.
Oh, whoa, whoa. My mom is watching too, so 3.
Okay. All right.
3 viewers.
Let's see if we can get the viewers up. So I was just minding my own business in Boxford a few years ago when somebody said, run and duck for cover, there's a terrible virus out there, and
Yeah.
we should lock the world down
No
to
kidding.
recover from it. 2 weeks to flatten the curve.
Are we still on that 2-week
Yeah, I
program?
think it's 4 years and 2 weeks now. And I said, that seems awfully strange, but, let's proceed with caution here. And I had the good fortune, I like to say, of having a couple of medical issues in my life. And I say it that way because it's woken me up to what you were saying to start with, Mike, and that, that most of the people in the medical profession get into it for the right reasons because they want to help people. And what better way than to keep people healthy? But these good folks are not given the full picture. As a side story, I am my own personal physician. When I was sharing with him some concerns I had about medication and how I thought I could keep myself healthy just by better eating and lifestyle changes, he said, I just had to take my board exams. I had to read 1,500 pages before I could sit for the exam. And he said, do you know how many pages were in there on nutrition? I said, no. And he said, 3.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, there was a Greek philosopher who said thousands of years ago, let food be thy medicine.
And medicine be thy food.
So
Hypocrites.
I think there's a lot to that. So when somebody said 2 weeks to flatten the curve, and we should lock everything down and crush some small businesses
Oh,
and
yeah.
devastate kids in schools and so forth, I said I am having a hard time believing that. So I became more of a skeptic.
Yeah.
But was feeling very isolated and said, I got to find some more people who think that this is wrong. And it took me a while to do that. But as I was telling Damien before the show, there's a lady named Pam Popper in Ohio who started a group called Make Americans Free Again. Now, Pam had been alerted to this, I'll say, issue a while earlier, many, many years earlier, and was very concerned about, I'll say, the government, but others using, medical issues as fear porn,
Oh, yeah.
to drive initiatives.
Yeah.
And she said, I'm going to start a national organization. I'm going to call it Make Americans Free Again and try to create some local chapters to get people more aware of this issue. So I happened to get connected to one near me in Newbury and met with some nice people and then continue to gather from time to time to sort of wrap our heads around it. And, candidly, a lot of people were worried about what was coming. Somebody's going to make us take some kind of shot. I'm worried about what, that might be. And then
And that agenda is still active.
it's still out there. This
They
has
still
not
are
gone
trying
away.
to push
Yeah.
the shots on people.
Well, I think a theme here of the things you cover are none of these things go away.
No.
And if people stand by quietly,
Right.
they will persist.
Right.
So I've never been one to stand by quietly, and hopefully I'm standing up to do the right things today. But
Because, Damien, you can't have it both ways.
you can't.
Can't have it both ways.
You can't have it.
Yep.
So one thing led to another. I was asked to take over these meetings because the gentleman who was leading them at the time, he was retiring to New Mexico, and I said, it's too important to not do it, so I'll do it. And there were probably 3 or 4 of us, in my rec room
Yeah.
a number of times, and I'm thinking, this is going to be hard, to just find other people who have the same concerns. But we persisted. That was probably 3, plus years ago, and now I think there's been 250 people, that have come
wow.
to our meetings.
Wow.
And it's usually now just a matter of talking to them about, what are their concerns. So it's gone beyond just the medical concerns, and I'd say it's really a freedom-oriented group.
Yeah.
where do you feel your freedoms are being infringed, if you're even aware of it?
That's right.
Whether it's censorship,
Yeah.
whether it's what you see on television, other than Danvers Community Access TV
At this moment.
at this moment. But you know, if you're getting informed through your television, there's a good chance you're being lied to.
Oh, it's awful.
And you know, again, good people, but they're being deceived.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's wars overseas, whether it's local politics, whether it's health related, whether it's financial and what you see in the economy, whether it's our borders, whatever these things are. Certainly schools, it's a major issue for people, right?
Yeah.
People feeling their freedoms under attack in all sorts of directions. So we've expanded our group's remit, if you will, to be more than just medical freedom and to cover all things related to freedom. So we've had some discussions recently on the MBTA. We're going to have another one this coming Thursday out our way. We meet at this is a local church that has a beautiful community building that they've allowed us to meet in, because now
Would that be open to the people here?
anyone who wants to attend Thursday, 7 p.m., Boxford First Church Family Life Center, right in the center of Boxford. Delighted to have you attend. Any of our meetings are open to anybody who wants to come. We've had some great speakers, people who have come in just in the last few months. We had the Gun Owners Action League come and speak to us in October.
Nice.
People are worried about their Second Amendment rights being taken from them, particularly in this state.
Yeah, I was gonna say you should be worried in this state. You know.
Who runs Goal? What's his name?
Wallace, is a gentleman named Wallace, I think.
Yeah, I forget who it was.
But it was John, I forget John's last name, who came to speak
John
to us.
Paul.
I don't think so. Anyway, he was
Right,
terrific. We had somebody come out and talk to us about 5G and EMF exposure. They were erecting these towers
Yeah.
and slapping cell signal things on them all over the place and
Right.
in classrooms. And we think that that's probably a little too much too soon, and there's safer ways to have yourself wired in, if you will. We had a Massachusetts guy who was an incredibly powerful speaker who named John Bodwin, who came and spoke to us a month ago about the excess death problem that's now statistically proven itself out following the introduction of the vaccine.
Right.
You know, a lot of us who are worried about this, hey, let's take this emergency use authorization shot.
Yeah.
They didn't never finish the trials.
No.
The piece of paper you talked about that you take out, when you take it out of that vaccine,
Yeah.
it's blank.
It's blank.
It's blank.
Doesn't
So,
have anything on it.
Do you know about Naomi Wolf
yes.
in her? She's got a book out now on all the 3,000 pages out of Pfizer, and how they knew it was
course
going to be
they did.
bad,
Yeah.
and it pushed it anyway.
But the pharmaceutical companies are absolved from all liability.
Yeah,
You know,
it's
since
amazing.
'86, they've
Yeah.
had this, shield, which
Yeah.
is they're only industry in the world that has this. You know, they can make a product, put it out there, and have no responsibility for whatever happens to people.
It's amazing.
So John came. John was sitting at home mourning the loss of his eldest son a short while earlier when the pandemic hit. And his other son said, geez, Dad, I don't think something's right about this. And John's a very smart guy, and he started digging into it. And he said, well, let me start subpoenaing some information from the state. So it wasn't even a FOIA. I think it's just a public records request. He got every death certificate that the state has put out in the last 10 years and just started doing the math. And you put a really smart guy on a project like that, and he can say, why do we have, by the way, we had no spike in deaths during COVID, which they now call the flu.
Right.
But when they introduced the shot, there was like a 20% spike in a lot of really troubling areas. You know, myocarditis,
Yeah.
lymph node cancer, strokes, yucca,
Blood clotting.
whatever, blood clots, all these things, and it's all statistically proven. And he can correlate it to the vaccine adverse event reporting system. So he's gone person to person and correlated this data. And he's actually spoken to many of the families, Massachusetts families, about what's happened. And they said, yeah, my son, daughter, husband, whatever, took shot 1, shot 2, shot 3, and then this happened, right afterwards. So his evidence is extremely compelling.
Yeah.
And he invited people to come to that meeting to say, if you're a skeptic, please come and let me let me share some information. Very sobering
Yeah.
presentation, and there were a couple people who got up and so disturbed and walked out during it, but
Yeah. Yeah. it
knew
is.
that they were affected by this. So
It's scary because you trust
yes,
and you believe. And, I remember before I got on the police department in Danvers that I used to believe the media had to be accurate because they're public information. So they couldn't, make up things or get things wrong. And if they did, they had to fix it. And then I'd read, incidents that happened where I was listed in the situation. I wasn't even working that day, or vice versa. They had me, not on something that was my case, and someone else had it. It'd be like, what happened? So it does wake you up a little bit.
Yeah.
You start to pay more attention when you see these things, and it's simple little things like that that get your attention.
yeah.
It's scary.
So we're always looking to bring new people in, and we're just trying to get to the truth. Wherever it leads us, there's no agenda
Yeah.
here other than let's get to the truth, and let's not stop at lockdowns or shots or what's happening in the schools. Like, let's continue to peel this onion back until we find out why this is happening and who's behind it, and then let's put a stop to it. And we decidedly want to be a group that doesn't get together and just gripe about
Yeah.
these things. It's
Right.
like, let's do something. So
Yeah.
when I met you,
An active group. Yeah.
I said, this is a guy who I can believe in because you're out there doing things. You're running for office. You're speaking up. You're trying to, help people sincerely, for the right reasons. Get to the truth, whatever that
Right.
leads you.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can't have it both ways. The
No.
truth leads you only one way.
And that's the thing. If you tell the truth, you can always remember it. If you make up stuff, look at
A lie
they all
doesn't
get
live
caught.
forever.
They all get caught. Whether it's the media or politicians, they're all out there, and their story changes and changes because you can't remember.
Yeah.
A lie doesn't live forever. Old Chinese proverb.
Yeah.
Well, they just changed. They moved the goalposts. Though.
Yeah.
So if you go back to COVID and they say, oh, well, all these people are going to die, and then those people didn't die, and then they had all these people who died from other things, motorcycle accident, they
Yeah.
would, reclassify it as COVID.
Yeah.
They built this whole narrative.
Best flu season we ever had. Nobody
Yeah.
died
Yeah.
from the
Exactly.
There
flu.
was no flu.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was amazing.
But if you see how the major thing here is it's all money. So the doctors and the hospitals got big money for calling things COVID and disseminating the medicine, right? Or whatever you want. It's not medicine, it's whatever it is, right? Vaccine, however you want to word it. I mean, if you look at the bus companies, there's no old buses on the road anymore. They're all brand new because they're hiking everybody around the country, all the illegals, right? Yeah, you can say illegal. They're, across the
It's
border.
factually accurate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is accurate.
Actually, statute.
And they're hammering on a local catering company, but for taking a $10 million bid. But somebody would have taken it, so I'm not looking to beat up on them because
It's not their
the
fault.
next place would have taken it. But they throw so much cash in there that the businesses have the hotels. All the hotels are full, right?
Yep.
They've never been full like this ever since the last brick was put down. The places are just now they're flooded with cash. So that's how they get the common person, the regular person, to go along with the crime.
Yeah.
Everybody's bought out.
So I agree with all that, except that I don't think we should support those businesses that go
I
along.
understand,
So,
I understand,
if
right.
you sell food and your name starts with Spin and ends with Ellie's, I'm never eating there again. Period.
I know, I
You know,
understand.
there's some great restaurateurs. Go to Sapino's, they're great
Yeah.
people. Go to
Yeah.
the F355 in Peabody. These are people who care about our freedoms and are standing up and doing the right thing.
Right. Yeah.
Go to those people. So that's one of the things that we try to do in our group and say, these are the good people who are trying to do the right thing. These are the people who are taking the cash.
Right. Now, can you tell everybody about this parallel economy that you guys work on?
Yeah, can you tell about other issues other than just the medical aspect of it? I mean, you looking at your website, it seems like you have a number of different issues that you surround yourself around.
Anything related to freedom, because I maintain that after your family and after your health, freedom is the single most important thing in your life. You want to decide where you work, where you worship, what you say, who you congregate with, what you do. It all depends on freedom that most of us have taken for granted our entire
We
life,
sure have.
right?
We sure have.
And they're eroding
Yeah.
today,
Yeah.
eroding in so many different directions. So we just, whatever the issue is that people are, feeling is upon them, let's say schools, for the time being, right? There's a lot of people today who had a hell of a time getting through COVID because of the way the schools handled that. And you could give them some latitude to say, okay, you didn't know at first, but once you knew and you saw what was happening to kids,
Yeah, right.
masking them, making them work from home. I mean, if you're a 6-year-old kid
Yeah.
trying to zoom into a class, that's just not going to work, right?
No,
And even the people, the CDC and others behind it said, these people are unaffected. They should be in school.
Absolutely.
You
But
know.
it came down to, then you heard all about contracts and everybody wants more money.
The money.
Oh, we're not going back to school
The
if
money.
we don't get more money. Because
money.
everybody can do their job in their pajamas in their living room now.
Right.
What? You know?
Right. So, but not to get back on the medical thing, but so education is a real concern. People are now much more aware and involved in terms of what's being taught to their kids. Why are all these classic books no longer available in the library? Why are there these other books promoting sex between adults and children
Yeah.
in the library?
Oh, it's a huge issue.
I guarantee you the people on school committees had no idea that stuff was going in, but it's in, and now that they're
Right
aware
down through
of
the
it.
state. State
Yeah.
funnels all this money,
Right.
and here's the list of rules.
Right. You look at the economy, for example, right? How much money, we'll use the word printed, it's a little more complicated than that, but was printed, starting in 2020 when this happened, right?
Yeah.
What does that mean? Your dollar's worth so much less today than it was. You're working
Absolutely.
just as hard or harder
Yeah.
to get to a less of a place than you were at a few years ago.
To a
Absolutely.
steak dinner.
Right. So, people are looking for financial advice. What do I do? Where's a safe place to put my money?
Yeah.
We have a guy in our group who's a crypto expert. And he's a farmer, believe it or not. So, we had some meetings on teach us about crypto. I'm not saying it's a good investment or not, but a lot of people want to know.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those confusing things.
Very
What is
confusing.
it?
So yeah, it's a fiat currency that exists only in zeros and ones.
It's like ranked choice voting.
Yeah. But-
Try to explain that one.
But if you can trade in and out of it successfully, you can make some good money. So
Right, right.
why not educate people? So we try to bring people together who can educate. There's a lot of people who are worried about the food system, right?
Yeah.
So we had a couple of professional gardeners in our group and said, let's talk to people about just starting a vegetable garden at home. Call it a victory garden, if you will, right?
Yeah.
So one's did a course more oriented in if you're in an apartment and you got to pot things, how do you do that? And somebody else talked about how you can do this, in your yard. And, we're not solving the world's problems here, but if you can have somebody leave these meetings with a better feeling of, hey, I can do something to help myself here,
Yeah.
it gives them some peace of mind when they feel like the world is creeping in on them from every direction.
Absolutely.
So,
Some people it helps them organize all the negativity, and then maybe they put it in action.
right.
So
So we're going to have a guy at the end of this month who's a software developer, brilliant guy, and he worked on a lot of the software that's being used really against us today. He certainly didn't know that at the time, but now we've seen how this is being implemented to sort of digitally monitor and control people. If we're sitting there having a conversation and we're talking about pizza, and you pull out your phone an hour from now and you see 3 ads for pizza places,
Yeah.
it doesn't feel so good, right? That your
Right.
whole world is being
listened to, yeah.
Yeah, and it is
It
everything.
is, yeah. Right.
So a lot of people are worried about that, especially if they have kids. What are the kids exposed to? How are they getting at kids? So steps that people could take to protect their data and their digital privacy. You could go off the deep end and talk on a tin can with a string for the rest of your life,
Yeah.
or you could take some interim steps, to
Yeah.
make your devices safer. And so,
Damien prefers to
VPNs.
walk around his house with the Reynolds wrap tinfoil hat
Yeah.
because he thinks that'll ward off
Oh, it's more for, cosmetic look.
for hair growth.
No, I don't.
Just don't go out in a storm with that on.
No, I don't. I just don't carry a cell phone.
Yeah.
That's a
So-
great start.
Yeah, it is. You know what? Guess what? Nobody can bother me right now.
Yeah.
But you guys gonna beep beep beep. When you gonna be home? What's going on?
Yeah.
I'll be home. Tell my wife, leave a note, whatever. Just old school stuff that like I used to do when I was leaving my house when I was a kid.
Yeah.
You know,
It
if
was
it was up to
definitely.
me, I'd have a phone on a cord.
Yeah.
But they don't have that dial up anymore. You
Yeah.
can't use those
The
anymore.
rotary.
Yeah.
Leave your finger in the number.
Da, 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 da. Yeah, but they don't even use them anymore. It's weird. So, yeah, but I don't mind. I like to have a, You know, I like the freedom of not having it. I mean, when I was running my companies, it was constant. I mean, you know,
Yeah, it's awful.
just beep, bleep, 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 bleep. You know, buzzing, text, you know, emails, phone calls all day long.
It's overwhelming.
Yeah, just put my phone away
Yeah.
and said, "Wow, this is pretty nice," and just kind of kept like that. So I carry it. I have one. I just, you know, if I'm going on a long trip, I'll have it with me, but it's not with me today. You know, just a damn I can walk home from here. You know, if I had to. So it's really not a big
Well, if
deal.
we ever start serving beer on this show, you probably will have to walk home. So I
Uber,
don't know. I'm not sure how that
not Uber.
regulation is.
God, if Uber was
Good
around
or
when I
bad,
was
huh?
a kid, that would have been a great day. I'd have had a good time.
I had a bicycle. That got me around plenty.
Yeah.
We cut you. We cut you off. You were
Yeah,
talking
so-
about
Oh, I was
your
just rambling.
communications. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just another example of things that concern people today. Why are these things out there? Why are these technologies out there?
Yeah.
They want you living in a 15-minute city where you can be tracked and traced. And
Yeah.
people like to throw this term conspiracy theorist out there, but conspiracy theorists are just like advanced thinkers. I mean,
Yeah.
virtually every conspiracy that somebody's called a conspiracy has become true.
Well, let me ask
Just
you this.
because it is a conspiracy doesn't mean it's not true either.
Right. Let me ask you this, okay? Some people call it, conspiracy theories, all right? But if you get a gut feeling, and it works. When you get a gut feeling that something is wrong, go with that feeling, because it's your inner body telling you this is wrong. And I got that when COVID hit,
Yeah.
because they weren't telling us everything. And the stuff they were telling us wasn't lining up. All the puzzle pieces weren't connected, and it was like, what's going on here? There's something really wrong, And just the information they gave us is what kept me away from lining up to get a shot, because
Cost me a career.
it did cost you a career.
And they've walked it all back since then. Virtually everything.
Not all
that
of
they
it.
were-
My Department of Developmental Services, still is not hiring non-vaccinated persons, and they're not calling any of us back. So,
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, right.
so
Somebody just has to get a lawyer and sue, and then that'll change.
lawyers are afraid. I've talked to them, and they're
Yeah.
like, I don't want to get involved. This and that. Well, the state's going to come after my license.
You know what it comes down to?
Attorneys are
Yeah.
fearful of it.
But
and
there's so much
it's a hard work.
easy work out there for them.
Yeah, and it would be hard work.
Right. That's right. It would be hard work.
But I am the only state employee, only employee in Commonwealth of Massachusetts who won their appeal and got the. I ended up with getting my workers' comp, unemployment. I fought it and won it, so I'm the only person in the state. And they
Number one.
yeah, and they, in the findings, they identified my request for accommodations to be valid, and I was due them. So that's one of the things. And also, I had a couple other arguments in there. One of the arguments was I didn't violate any rules, which I didn't. There was only an executive order. There actually wasn't a rule in place. So I violated an executive order, but that's not a fireable offense. So
Yeah.
I had a couple arguments, and I ended up winning. So,
So there's a lot of good people who lost their job.
Yeah.
Cops,
a lot of them.
troopers,
Yeah.
nurses. I mean, the nurses, right,
Yeah.
who were in there taking care of people who were sick, flu
Amazing.
or whatever it was, did that through it all, 7 or 8 months. They decide not to take the shot, and they lose their job.
Right.
A lot of those folks
7
in our
months. It
group.
was a year and a half for us. I worked with people with, so I worked in a, it's almost like a healthcare facility, people with intellectual, physical disabilities. So we're care providers, not healthcare, but we work side by side with PT, physical therapists, occupational therapists, speech therapists, nursing staff. So we were kind of their hands-on for some of these issues. And yeah, we worked through it all. And then Charlie Baker got rid of the emergency declaration and said everybody's got to get a vaccine.
Charlie Baker, the head of the NCAA.
Yes, that
Oh.
one.
Yeah, that one.
Oh, okay.
That one.
Yeah. It's funny how that happened.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure was, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, you could always take it to Supreme Court, and maybe our current governor's
I'm just kind of
friend,
hoping,
she just
before that.
appointed.
I don't want to
Could hear the
file
case.
legislation. I'd rather just get my career back. I enjoyed the work so much. But if I don't get it, I don't get it. I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
You know.
So, did we beat that one up enough?
Yeah.
Did we?
I think we covered COVID.
So let's dig down a little bit on what you do. I mean, so you guys, other than speeches, do you guys go out and have events? Do you guys go out into the community? I don't want to say hold signs, but do you get involved with some of the issues that you're talking about and get active within the community and to remedy your concerns that you have?
We do. People kind of do what they're comfortable with. Not everybody's comfortable standing out on a street corner holding a sign or getting in a contentious situation. I never thought I would do that. If you'd asked me 4 years ago, no, I'm not going to be out holding a sign. And I've been out on street corners holding signs just to try to raise awareness. We've had people that you may have heard, I don't remember the gentleman's name, but there was a father whose young son was taken by DCF and said, well, we're going to vaccinate
In Massachusetts?
in Massachusetts, a child, and he said, I don't want that. And there were a number of people, sort of in our group and friends of the group who went out there to sort of raise awareness for that, holding signs to do that. There have been other people, when somebody's put up a vaccine clinic or some business that, like the one you were talking about, your employer saying, we still have this requirement. People have gone out to just hold signs and make people aware of it peaceably, right? Nobody's trying to get in any trouble or anything. There may have been certain mayors, whose houses were visited, with people holding signs. And now some of those people, are having to defend themselves for simply peaceably standing out in front of a mayor's house holding a sign.
Right.
But I think you asked the point earlier about parallel economy. It's clear that there's a number of businesses and employers that have bought into this hook, line, and sinker, right? And we want to step away from those businesses.
Yeah.
Whether you make pasta or you're in a state agency, doesn't matter. We're trying to say, well, what do we need, to survive, and who can we do business with? Who are the good businesses that we can support, and who are the people in our community that we can find to help one another? I need an electrician. I need a roofer. I need a chiropractor. Who can I go to?
Yeah.
And we're trying to create a network. I've said my number one objective is to spread awareness and make the group as big as we can to help one another, right?
Yeah.
And what you're in effect doing is building a parallel economy so that you have choice to say, well, I don't want to support that business because they're going to make me wear a mask to go in there and buy a six-pack. And there are businesses that did that. I'm like, they're not bothered by the fact that the mask doesn't do anything, and they now admit that. They can't have that both ways.
Right.
Oh, it does. Maybe you should have two of them. Actually, no, now we admit it doesn't do anything. We're not bothered by the fact that we can't put out a single scientific study that says that it does. So we don't want to go to that packy. We want to go to this one that's happy to have our business, walking in there. So it's just trying to identify businesses like that. There was a number of us who went out and spoke to businesses early in this about that, to say, how do you feel about it? And some of them said, don't come in here without a mask. And some of them said, please come in. I'm a small business. I love your business. And we tried to make sure that people knew who those businesses were and support them as much as we can and continue to do so. It's just, the world's a big place, but you can make it small pretty fast, and you get the word out in the North Shore and say, these are the businesses that, we want to support, and these are the ones that we'd prefer not to go to.
Yeah. I used to get a kick out of I was a violator of the arrow rule. I think I said this before. And my wife had to explain it to me. We were in Stop and Shop, and apparently the arrow said different than the direction I was going. And this was I don't know if we were wearing masks at this point, but there was an arrow, a taped arrow on the floor. And a delivery guy delivering water there was pretty upset with me, and I thought he was kidding. So I was like, oh, hey, how's it going, And he was all ripped up about me going down the aisle the wrong way, apparently. I don't know.
Because the virus only goes one way.
Right.
So if you...
Or if you're sitting down
true.
versus standing up. So.
Right. That's right. It knows.
It did know.
Can't have that both ways. You can't go both ways on the aisle.
outside. Put your mask on to eat, and you're like, oh, your mask is off.
Yeah.
Well, I got to eat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same
Yeah.
thing.
The whole mask thing. It's just incredible. We use those masks for, I've used them, I don't know, 30 something years. And, you know, you demo in a house and you take the mask is black, you take it off and your face is black. So how is it going to stop a
Yeah.
virus?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know? So,
So is there any other, like, so you go out, you meet with business owners, you talk to them, and then you listed them on your website, or did you put
We
out
didn't list them
mailers?
anywhere. Like we don't. You reference a website. We do have a website. I hesitate to mention it because if it was a little better, it would be under development still. But you
Okay.
know, I'm not a website guy. I could use help with that sort of thing. We're a big group. People have different talents. Website development is probably not chief among them. We'd love to have a place where we can say, these are businesses we'd love to support. You know, not going to defame any others, but say, if you're looking to buy, you know, lumber, go here. If you're looking to buy curtains, go here, you know, sort of thing. So it was much more word of mouth, you know, within our group. We never created a list of any sort. But yeah, so that the organization is still, I'd say it still lacks some organization in that respect. We haven't put out some document. It's not about that. And there's some people I think who are a little worried about having their name on something as well.
Attached to
oh,
something,
absolutely.
yeah.
So in this day and
Absolutely.
age, you know, per my comments earlier from data privacy standpoint, but
Yeah.
what we're really trying to do is create awareness. You know, I think a
Cancelization.
lot of people over these last few years have been very frustrated. Some of them downright afraid, and afraid to speak up. You know, they get into a family setting or a work setting or something and say, anybody think this is kind of strange? Like, you know, you'd be shouted down if you said the wrong things. Your people are afraid, you know, to speak up on many topics,
Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
Which is unfortunate because we welcome the debate. You know, please come in with an alternative view. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
There's a lot that we don't know, that I don't know, but let's have a discussion. Let's bring people out and ask them to come to these meetings. Sometimes we have a big presenter like John Bodwin. Sometimes it's just us sitting around, passing around the microphone, saying, "Let's talk about what's on your mind." Sharing ideas. You know, where's a good place to get information these days?
Are there membership dues to this or anything like that?
No. There's a lot of people who've been out of work, probably still out of work because they haven't been able to find employment or equivalent employment. You know, since then it's not about, nobody's making any money, you know, on this. There's no cost to it. It's really just creating a community. It's about community, you know, really, and how we can help one another.
Yeah.
Because that's, you know, really at the end of the day, like you're only going to get so far. There's an African proverb that goes something like, you want to go fast, go alone. You want to go far, go together. We're all about going together, right? This is not going to end this month or even this year, you know, per your earlier comments. These things, you know, the minute you stop being vigilant about freedom is when those freedoms are going to be taken away from you. A lot of people fought damn hard to get us to where we are.
Yeah.
And there's a number of us that are just not going to sit idly by and watch them being taken away.
Yeah. On that note, I heard something recently that the Veterans Administration, they're paying for medical and dental care of illegals while they're
100%.
yeah, well they're, you know, letting veterans, you know, be shorted, you know.
Yeah.
So another upside down situation,
We might have listened to the same show.
possibly, possibly.
What are they not paying for?
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
It's
you know,
everything. They're
if you're a veteran, there's a lot of things I'm sure they're not paying for.
oh, and I mean for the illegals. So if illegals,
Ah.
it's like carte blanche. If you're a veteran, it's amazing.
And see, that's another thing. You can't have it both ways. They bring him in. Okay, first of all, he says surge the border. This president surge the border. That was the go. So then they did, and they haven't stopped, right? And so then they give them the money, the housing. Now Massachusetts, you can have a license. Just come up with some phony paperwork and you get a license, right?
Yeah.
So you could live in another part of the world and have
That was-
a mass license.
That was a ballot question, right? Wasn't it?
Yeah.
Can't believe that passed. Yeah.
And you know, and then you automatically get put on the voter list. So that just happens.
Yeah.
So
It's harder to vote something away than it is to vote something in. So it was already in, we were voting to stop it. So it's harder to take it away than to, I mean, it just, there's a 15% drop off on pulling a privilege away than it is to put it in. So that's why they did it.
you should write those little things for the Chinese cookies. You could write,
The fortunes.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think he could do well.
I don't speak
in the
Chinese.
event that your
How's your
singing
Mandarin?
career
Yeah,
doesn't
my
take off.
Mandarin's no good.
But the whole manner in which they're doing this, give, which is ours to give, right? And then they say they come over here looking for work. What a crock of crap. They're not going to work. You know, they're not going to. Why would they work?
And
Here's
even
the
if
bad
they
part.
are-
When they shut the money off, crime is going to explode like it already hasn't.
It's
right?
already exploded.
It's exploding. But when they shut the money off and they finally go, whoop, we reached our limit. We can't print anymore. We can't give anymore, or deliberately, however you want to call it. And now they say, sorry, you're going to have to go out and get a job. Ain't going to happen.
Yeah,
It's you know, and then the media. Oh my God, this enrages enrages me. The poor college girl in Georgia is murdered, right?
Blakely.
Brutally murdered.
Yeah.
Just a young kid starting out in life, right? And the animal that does it, the president calls him an illegal, and then the media just wants to talk to him about why he used the word illegal.
And then he changed it to undocumented.
And
He
then he said-
apologized.
Yeah,
to
he
him.
apologized. Now, the girl here, she doesn't count. She wasn't hurting anybody. She
Lakin.
was out studying to be a
Yeah.
nurse, they say.
She was out running,
Yeah.
and she was beaten so bad that you can't recognize her face.
That's why I tell everybody, I know I've joked a few times, practice up your karate, but it's not a joke. And if you got kids, you need to teach them, and get your gun license,
Everybody should be carrying a firearm.
I
That's
believe so.
legal-
You know why?
Rightfully
It's-
able to.
It's an armed community is a polite community. Everybody knows what's going on.
The only reason why the government's not grabbing everything that we own right now is because we are an armed citizenry, and that's why the founding fathers originally put it in. Back in the day, when we first were established as a country, you were obligated as a landowner to have a firearm, and there were days given off that they were to practice and train their firearm use. So it was an obligation as a vote. If you were a voter, which means you were a property owner,
Yeah.
you had to own property in order to vote. So if you were a property owner and a voter, you were obligated to have a firearm.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for it.
Right, exactly.
Well-regulated militia.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm not a big gun person, but I mean, as far as like, it's not like I go shooting all the time. But when you do go shooting, it's fun. It's a fun sport,
It is a fun sport.
So
Went a couple weeks ago. Still got to clean my guns.
hopefully the NRA is not listening.
Yeah.
But maybe they'll send you a cleaning kit.
Well,
With
I want
directions.
to put 1,000 rounds through my weapon before. I want to see how far I can take it before it jams. So I just kind of want to get a number on that.
Well, don't throw it in the dirt. Maybe it
Throw
won't
it on.
jam.
Doesn't go into the dirt. Doesn't go into the dirt. So
So anyway, there's so many things that are upsetting and ridiculous that go on that you have to laugh.
I got a question for you though. So one thing I learned is if you don't ask people for something, the answer will always be no. So is there anything that your organization needs other than a web? They need a web designer, so anybody out there designs websites, you can contact them. Is there anything else that you need? Do you need like meeting areas, meeting rooms, anything that you can think of that your organization needs that you can ask people for today? And I'll ask for you if you don't feel comfortable asking.
No, thank you.
He is
It's
a little
great
pushy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
politely persuasive.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's a great question. We're very fortunate to have a terrific space. First Congregational Church in Boxford has a beautiful building that they let us use. I assured them we are not a militia. We're not looking to cause any trouble. We're just trying to come together as a community. And if you think about it, the churches in our country have been the center of the community for hundreds of years, right? So we're just trying to...
And yet they're under attack.
They're under attack as well. So, I mean, I'd say support your local church, synagogue, mosque,
Yeah.
and the community with them. I think what we need help with is getting the word out there and talking to people, having frank conversations with people, right? Don't be afraid
Absolutely.
to have a polite,
Yeah.
frank conversation. And
We used to be able to.
Some people have a gift for this sort of thing, and
Yeah.
they can approach people in a very inoffensive way,
Yeah.
humor, ask questions. I tend to come at it with too many facts, so it's like right out of the gate. So it tends to,
It's argumentative right out of there.
yeah. And I'm
Just
not
because
trying
it's
to be
factual.
argumentative, but I'm happy to get into a discussion on a lot of subjects. But some people just have a natural ability to sort of warm people up on things. But a lot of people are walking around seeing a lot wrong today.
And they know it.
And they know it, but they won't speak up.
Yeah, they're afraid to speak up, or they're just overwhelmed by everything, and maybe their job or their family. Everything is, high speed today. I don't think it's ever been this fast, ever. And distractions is incredible.
Well, look at how hard, it's two people in the household working,
Yeah.
right, just to make ends meet, if they can.
That's right.
Two cars, cell phones. I mean, how much is a cell phone? Cable.
Yeah.
You're talking $1,000 for your cell phones, your cable,
Right.
your internet
And
access.
that was a bill we never had growing
Never.
up.
You had a $3 a month phone bill
Yeah.
that you carry around a 25-foot cord.
Yeah. How busy people are these days. Your kids, look at your kids. When I was a kid, it was get outside,
Yeah.
kick a ball around, come back for dinner, sort of
Exactly.
thing. Now it's like parents got to drive you 5 places.
Yeah.
You've got some tournament on a weekend that's 100 miles away.
Well,
So-
how
Virginia.
many-
My brother was in. My
You know?
brother's kid was in Virginia this weekend.
And how many times do you see where the kids are in multiple sports?
right,
All
year round.
right.
You're lucky if you can find a week.
I'm for keeping your kid busy because it's cheaper than a lawyer when they're committing crimes.
Yeah.
But I think you got to teach them some kind of peace too, so that they can know what it's like to maybe just sit, relax, and read a book in between stuff. You know what I mean?
Be off their phone for a day or two.
Yeah. Take the phone thing. Yeah. My
Do a
kids
40-minute rosary.
My kids couldn't stand it when they were playing the video games and it would be 75 degrees out, and I'd scoop that keyboard or the controllers, and they would be looking at me and like, outside, let's go, and but I did things like we got dirt bikes and stuff, and we would all go for rides, and it got their attention, kept them busy, and you got to do what you got to do, but there's too many distractions today, and too much negativity coming over these phones and computers and games, and when that Grand Theft Auto came out, I was shocked how many parents ran out and bought it. They were
Yeah.
killing cops. They were talking about they had prostitutes
women,
on it,
prostitutes.
and they were killing them. And I mean, today it's common now, but that's why you see so many people, they are desensitized.
Were you against Elvis Presley?
No, but I have seen him recently.
Yeah.
Does that mean anything?
You know what? I actually saw a video on him yesterday. Believe it or not. But that's
I
why
thought I
said
saw him over at the market. But yeah, it's today raising kids is way more difficult, And then what if a medication has now, it's a belief that I have that the medications that the kids are given are hurting the kids, and so now you have a perfectly healthy kid, and not anymore.
Joe Rogan just did a interview with somebody, and they were talking about actually it wasn't Joe Rogan, it was Jordan Peterson, talking about bad therapy.
Yeah.
And there's a book, I forget who wrote it, I should have paid more attention to it, but they were talking about how when a kid has a problem, their dog dies, their grandparent dies, something normal tragedy happens, they send
know,
up
right
the
where you're going
therapy,
with this, yeah.
so they just keep hitting them with the therapy over and over and over,
Yeah.
and it allows them to just keep reliving the problem, and it causes like a cycle of anxiety and depression, and creates these kids with this ongoing mental health issues.
Yeah.
Instead of just saying, well, it's life.
Right,
You're sad. You'll get over it.
Right. See, and that's I thought you were going to the point where, which ties into painkillers in medicine, is that nobody wants to feel pain, and they have the whole pain management thing, which is if you're in pain, it's real, but sometimes you got to feel some pain because that's how we learn.
Yeah.
Look, life is about suffering, and it's just in one way or another. And it's the suffering that has you enjoy the good times.
When did you learn the most? When you were a kid and somebody said, "Oh, you got a space between your teeth."
Yeah.
All right.
My
maybe
nickname was Binky. Is Binky. It still is Binky.
And
So-
now everybody knows it's Binky.
Yeah, well, that's all right. People call me it. It's my name. I mean, it's ever since I was 2 weeks old. Like growing up with that.
But how did you learn? That's where you learned the most. You know, if the kids made fun of you because of the clothes you were wearing, you probably tried to do something different. You know.
Yeah.
You know, we're humans. Everybody's a little different. It's okay. You know, and kids don't know when they're growing up. They poke some fun. You know, if it's wildly malicious, then that's something that has to be dealt with. But
You know, the difference though then, Mike, was you did it back then. You were right there. You know, if
Yeah.
I'm going to poke fun at you, you're going
That's
to
right.
take a swing at me.
Exactly.
Now kids are poking fun at one another from a distance on the
yeah.
phones,
And
right?
then
And
So
for
those-
hours. It's not just
and-
once. It's
yeah.
not me saying something to you and you get in my face. I said, well, maybe I shouldn't have said that.
right. No social
It's-
skills.
Yeah,
Right,
right.
it's like I can hammer you over and over and over. There's no threat of you stepping to me.
Right.
Where in the old days,
Yeah.
you got that instant feedback because I couldn't make that text message going, you know, you're a jerk. You're,
The old days where it was,
Short
meet
Bob,
me after
little-
school.
Yeah.
And you were
Mother-
worried all day. You're like, oh, I probably
mother
shouldn't have
has
said
a
that.
mustache.
Now I'm meeting him after school. This ain't going to go
yeah,
good.
Yeah, exactly.
But you learned,
Yes.
right? You know,
Yeah.
you lose some fights and you win some fights and you learn.
Yeah.
But if you don't learn any skills at all, then the slightest of things is a huge panic, and you're in trouble. You know, and that's what's happened. We not only did they dumb down everybody, but they made everybody wimpy. You know, the way that's all been going. You know.
Well, the political correctness has run amok,
Oh,
right?
oh
I
my
mean,
God, huh?
It's like to your point earlier of people got to be able to speak up. Like we don't have to agree on everything. That's
No.
fine.
Yeah,
I
it's
think you
okay.
be respectful of all people, which
I'll
I
just
think
be like, "Pfft, Dave.
people are. That's fine. But now you're browbeat into this
Yeah.
is the line of thinking that you have to adopt, and if you
Yeah.
don't adopt it, you're a misogynist, white supremacist, whatever, lots of other bad names, sort of thing.
Isms.
Yeah,
Isms,
yeah.
you know. It's like, geez, I was just sharing a few thoughts.
Somebody
you know?
asks you, who'd you vote for, and all of a sudden they won't talk to you.
I just said I like Larry
Hey,
Bird.
which-
That's it.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I,
You know, it's just insane. You know, you can disagree. It's okay. I mean, who cares? That's their life, right?
yeah.
You know, you shouldn't get caught up in other people's lives like that anyway. Let
Yeah.
them do their thing.
Respect the differences.
Yeah, it's okay.
Respect the
You know,
people.
I'm-
respect the differences.
In the more listening you do, you really learn a lot from people.
Yeah.
You know, whether they meant to teach you something or not. If you
Listening.
listen,
I keep forgetting. Listen.
God gave you
Binky.
2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason.
listen some more Binky.
Yeah.
But we're listening. We're listening to the guy over here.
So did you? I'm sorry, we interrupted before you got to say if you need anything else, and how can people reach out to you and be able to give you a hand or meet up with your group?
Yeah, that's the second part of that is a tough one. Like I don't want to put my email out there and say send me an email. There's probably a better way. I have to think about it. Maybe we can post it in the show notes when this gets posted on.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, because genuinely, we do want to reach as many people as we can who are worried about these things happening all around us and coming together as a community, as a North Shore community, as a Massachusetts community, as an American community, welcoming everybody, but to help one another, to talk about these things and get through this. And the only way we're going to do it is to create, a larger group that can truly help one another from a
Right.
parallel economy standpoint. I'll think of a practical way for people to reach out.
Just post it in the comments. And that way, people will be able to get to you
Yeah.
and be able to help out. That
Yeah.
way, you
But
can
if
get your
somebody's
website
serious,
up.
they could come to the meeting that you told us about.
Yeah, come on.
And they could meet you face to face.
Absolutely. No, so we're
They can
trying to
find out
stick
what they
to
need to.
Yes, we're trying to stick to a schedule. Last Thursdays of the month, Thursday evening,
Yeah.
at the Family Life Center,
Yeah.
First Congregational Church in Boxford,
minute.
center of Boxford.
We're that close to the end here?
No,
No way.
but
that
I'll
can't be
also
true.
post something in the show notes.
Really?
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, 1 minute. We burned through this.
Well, you guys talk a lot.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Me,
we
you
didn't even
taught-
get through.
It was mostly you.
I wanted to talk
89
about climate change because that's real.
Yeah.
Well, now we can't tell anybody. The sun's not going to get up, come out of the, be up in the
Global
sky
warming.
tomorrow.
The sun came up. It's longer sunlight. So, we're in trouble.
Oh, boy, huh? I definitely wanted to talk more about the Agenda 21 thing. I think that's incredible. The program there is a template being used across the whole world, and it's happening right here in town. And that's what High Street up to 128 is going to look like. But now we get 30 seconds left, so I do want to say thank you guys very much. Thank you for both you people watching, both our paid.
Thanks, Mom.
Yep, thank you. And God bless, and we hope that everybody's okay, and we hope that you got a kick out of the show and maybe even learn something.
Yeah.
So,
God bless you, Danvers.
Thank you.
thank you.